Three, two, one, correct. Ladies and gentlemen, still lifes of all shapes and sizes. You know that sound means it's time for another episode of A Beer and Review.
So pour it high and let it gleam. This is the podcast, Sip and Dream. Stay for the fun, we've got more to do. Oh yeah, it's A Beer and Review.
That is right, everybody. Welcome to episode 131 of A Beer and Review, where the movies are spoiled and the beer is fresh. I am your host this week, Lane Good, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Lucas Walker.
What's up, buddy? Did you just come up with that tonight? What was that? That was good.
Thanks, man. No, I've said that before, but we haven't just been too drunk to remember it and just say it every episode. But yeah, thank you very much. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing spectacular. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. But before we get into all of that, we need to start, as we always do, with our ceremonial swig. Lucas Walker, cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Very good. I have not mentioned what we are drinking and what we are watching this week. Again, if you are new to A Beer and Review, what we are doing is we have watched a movie that week, or this week, the movie is Backrooms, and we are drinking while we discuss it. La Chouffe would be my guess.
La Chouffe?
Chouffe Blonde. La Chouffe. Sounds fancy, sounds fun. So we'll get to discuss a little bit about that later. We got to have our ceremonial swig. God, I'm excited to see what you think. I stayed away from IPAs just for you. So this is the beer of the week.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I appreciate that. And my stomach appreciates it. My family appreciates it.
Well, that's the only reason I'm doing it is because of your family. But my friend, how are things? Life is good. How's the family? How was your week?
Life's good, man. You were over for dinner tonight, so you got to see a little taste into my world. It was actually a pretty tame evening, all things considered. So you got to see everyone on their best behavior. It's been a week, man. They're all tough. We're in a tough spot, dude. It's we're battling. We're in survive in advance mode, but it's all very good. It's all fun. It's all wonderful. Was happy to get out to a movie in the theaters with you this week. We've had some NHL playoffs or finals. We've had some NBA finals. Work's been good, dude. Life's good. I don't have any complaints.
I love to hear it. Have you had some time to watch anything? What you been watching, my friend?
I have really not had any time to watch anything. I have been watching both NHL and NBA finals. We originally were going to do a different movie this week, so I have been working on that movie. We'll just talk about that when we do that episode. Got out to the theater for this movie, so really haven't had any time for anything else. What about you?
Beautiful. I have also been absolutely crushing the theater, which has been great. I did, obviously, this movie, Backrooms. I think I mentioned last week I went and saw Obsession. We will have a little talk because they are, the talk of the town right now. I did also go to the movie a third time. I went and saw the Nate Bargatze movie, The Breadwinner.
Yeah,
with
nice.
him and Mandy Moore. Yeah, and it was basically Nate Bargatze's stand-up jokes into a movie. Like the post-credit scene, if you even want to call it that, is literally him doing stand-up jokes from his sets that you've seen. Like, oh, hey, my wife hired someone to fix the roof. I had no idea who he was, so I just believed him. And then it immediately goes into that scene that they made from the movie. And it's like, okay,
yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. It's like his jokes are such that it kind of lends itself perfectly to that, right? To do a real life adaptation of the joke, because they are just all, real life situations, like a dude who kind of is clueless or dumb or whatever, and his interactions with his wife and their family life. Like, I don't know, man. He's so good. Like, it seems like we could come up with new jokes.
Yeah, you would want him to, but I mean, I had fun watching the movie as a Nate Bargatze fan. If you're not a fan, I don't think you'll enjoy it, but it was a good way to spend a Tuesday afternoon. I got tickets thanks to, I don't know if you've heard this, but Nate Bargatze did a thing where if you enter in some code, you get a discount on tickets.
Oh,
So
nice.
me and the wife went on a Tuesday night. For both of us to go in, the total was $9 for tickets.
Hell yeah.
So that
Hell
was
yeah.
pretty sweet.
That's cool.
But we are not here to discuss Breadwinner. We are here for Backrooms, the talk of the town, as I mentioned, in Hollywood. We'll get it out of the way now because everyone's been mentioning it. Directed by Kane Parsons, the 20-year-old, about to be all over Hollywood. He's about to have any job that he wants and make all the money in the world. Written by Will Sudik and Kane Parsons as well. It came from Kane Parsons' YouTube thing, which again we'll discuss here later. Released in 2026, I think a couple of weeks ago. Rated R, coming in about an hour and 50 minutes. Before we get into anything, Luke, what did you know about the Backrooms coming into this flick?
Not a ton. I'm not super dialed into the horror movie genre world. That's not really like my shit. You are much more of a horror guy, so we'll lean on you for some of those kind of discussions a little bit more as we go. All I really knew was it was a horror movie directed by a 20-year-old that is original IP, like original story that he kind of created. And the movie was made for very, very cheap. And then I knew, I don't know what loose connections or hard connections or whatever connections there are to the kid. I'll call him a kid because compared to us, they're kids, who made Obsession, and the fact that, these two movies are horror movies coming out relatively close to each other, made for very cheap by kids in their very early 20s. So that's really all I knew.
Nice. Yeah. I think that's really all you need to know to understand this. I guess doing a little bit of research, I guess someone posted a picture of kind of, just the idea of a few back rooms where you can kind of peek around the corner and tell that it's a little weird. And he just had some quote kind of threw this idea out into the internet and out into the world. And then Kane Parsons took it and made this whole world around this thing. And it's really interesting to see what he did with it. So we will get into all of that right now. But I do think it's important to kind of, before we jump in, it's important to say that neither of us are really involved in this world. And so the things that we're talking about are basically from what we got from the movie for the most part.
Yep.
I think we should start with the opening. So let's jump into Lane Love's first scenes.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like I know that the movie takes place and it's a guy who finds these rooms that are never ending and it's wild back rooms, right? But the movie jumps straight into it. It takes us right in there right away. They do the found footage thing, so we don't know who's holding the camera, but he's talking to people, and so he has some kind of radio system set up. He's seeing things. He's breathing heavily. He's trying to stay quiet. It's just a very tense way to start a movie, but also give us at least a look into the back rooms. It doesn't tell us what's back there, but at least we get to see it and we dive right in, which when you have a horror movie, sometimes you have to wait 45 minutes to even really get into what you're trying to see or where you're trying to go. So I really, really like that. I thought it was really high tension. We see what we find out is the Captain Clark or whatever his name is. He gets attacked, so we know that something's down there, but we don't really see what it is. I just thought it was a really good way to throw us right in this world, keep us on the edge of our seats, ready to rock. I thought it was amazing. 9 out of 10 opening. What did you think diving in there?
Yeah, I think that's a fair score. It introduces us to a lot of like weirdness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what this kind of world, this Backrooms is all about. A lot of stuff that like doesn't make sense or we don't really understand where it's one of the first things is we hear this noise and then this like bird comes in and it's like laying dead on the ground and then it flies off and then it's like, okay, why the fuck is there a bird in this like office building or whatever? Like a seagull. And then, we kind of have like this vague danger, right? This vague, like scary bad guy thing that is chasing him, sort of like we don't really get to see it, but we kind of understand, we hear, and we understand that like basically there's this guy is scared, right? He's afraid. And then one thing I thought was really cool in this opening that I thought was very important is he hops on like that radio and he's like trying to contact somebody, right? And he's like, he says something to the effect of like, I've never been in this far, or like I've never come this far in, right? And so that makes it like we understand, like by the way that he's running around and turning and doesn't really know, like that he's sort of in like this maze kind of a situation where you can kind of get deep into the maze. And so the fact that he says like, I've never been in this far, we've never come this far, whatever, like it just kind of vaguely puts you in the position of like, we don't know where we are, what we're doing. Nobody knows what is going on here. And that's very important for the movie.
Yeah. And I really like that. Something I forgot to mention is that, after he gets attacked by Captain Clark, the footage gets cut. And then we see the reflection of people in a TV that are watching this found footage. So
that's
someone
important.
knows what's going on.
Yeah,
right?
The whole can of worms.
Yep, which I cannot wait to dive into. Are you ready for a little plot? I wrote it down whilst I was at your house. I don't think I did great, but there's so much going on in this flick. Are you ready?
Hit us with it.
So the film centers on our two main characters, Clark and Mary. And Clark is played by, I don't think I said this earlier, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Terrible.
Neither of those were good.
Nope. And then Mary is Renate Rinsby.
Yeah, also not great.
Not great there either. You podcast fans will recognize her from Sentimental Value, which we watched. And then Mark Duplass, who I might even be wrong too. I might be 0 for 3 on names for the actors, but
they're tough ones. They're tough ones, to be fair.
Yeah, he was from some fun comedy movie, so it was good to see him. All right, so again, we've got Clark, and we've got who is a down on his luck furniture store owner, and Mary, who is his therapist. After a night of drinking, Clark stumbles upon the Backrooms, which are an apparently never-ending maze of illogical rooms. Clark spends his night exploring the Backrooms and eventually brings his findings to Mary. Although hesitant to believe Clark, Mary eventually is given a phone call by Clark, a voicemail that intrigues her to come down and locate said Backrooms. She's then choked out by Clark and brought to what can only be described as the creepiest dinner scene of all time. We learn the truth of what the Backrooms are, which we really should spend some time discussing so we can make sure we're on the same page. We also learned that the monster down below is, again, spoilers, Pirate Clark, who is a grotesque version of Clark, who is in his pirate marketing costume. We can get into why and what. And again, I want to have that conversation down the road. During the climax, Pirate Clark kills Clark and chases after Mary, who is eventually captured by people in hazmat suits, the people from the beginning who were watching the tapes that we were talking about, who we learn are async employees who originally were working on MRI machines. We learn there's an interrogation scene with her and some dude named Phil, that Mark Duplass guy was talking about. And then instead of doing MRIs, they switched to focusing on the back rooms. And then she's like, am I getting out of here? Or like, am I out of here? And I don't know if she was out of there. And then the movie ends on one of the black rooms. And she is this weird, still life, weird character that I didn't even discuss in my synopsis, but we will get into now. Luke, what did this movie do best? Because there's a lot that they throw out. They throw it, this is unlike anything you or I have ever seen. They've got the found footage aspect. They've got the wild sets. It's a really out there story. For you, what was your favorite part of this movie?
So I think what the movie does best is it makes you think, right? Because it doesn't ever overtly come out and explain what is going on.
Correct.
Right. And even to the extent that it ever kind of does explain what's going on, that doesn't necessarily jive with everything that you've seen, right? It doesn't kind of come to a complete, like, clean explanation of what this movie is. So I think what it does is it makes you think. It does a lot of really good things, right? I don't know. It sets you in a world that you don't really understand or know. It does a lot of cool things with the way that the movie is shot, the way that the movie makes you feel. It just does a lot of really good things. But I think the very best thing is that it really makes you use your brain to figure out what the fuck you're watching.
Yeah. For me, some of my favorite stuff was the characters and the acting. I thought all of those were phenomenal. And although there were only a few of them, particularly 2, 4, I still think we need to have a character draft because they're pretty deep and there's a lot going on with especially our two main characters, Clark and Mary. So I would love to get into our character draft. This is where we go snake draft style, back and forth, picking our favorite characters of the movie based off us picking numbers 1 to 25. I'm going to go, Lucas, with number 4 because that's how many characters it felt like were in the movie. 4.
I'll go with 16. Actually, I'll go 20. The age of the guy, and it's 7. Doesn't matter. You were gonna win either.
Beautiful. I will start us off. I will go with Clark, our main furniture store owner. I love how much we know about him, but the only side of the story that we hear is his, right? We never hear from his wife at all, or his ex-wife, excuse me. We only kind of get his side of the story, but even that we know is a pretty sad tale, right? We know he's kind of this failed architect. We know he's just recently been divorced. There's no mention of kids, I don't believe. He's got this furniture store, and I literally don't think we see one customer in the entire movie. They mention how he's overdue on bills. Things are not going well for our guy. And so to see him kind of stumble upon this golden, creepy, eerie, calling presence is a really interesting place to put a character who doesn't really have much to live for. So I like to see him really just dive off the deep end. He goes through a ton of emotions. Again, the actor, even though I absolutely butchered his name, did a phenomenal job in it. And I thought Clark was an unbelievable character to follow on this journey. And it's tough with really just one guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's an alcoholic, right? We can kind of pick up the clues that he's not a great guy, right? But he's also very likable, right? You're cheering for him, you're pulling for him. And then you can also kind of understand, based on what he has going on or the lack of what he has going on in his life, basically just how shit his life is, why he would do basically the horror movie, like, protagonist dumb actions, right? Because I think that's one thing with him in this movie is you're like, dude, don't go in there. Don't go in there.
Yeah.
You got out. Don't go back in.
Right.
Like, it's just a classic horror movie thing of like, why are you going in there? Don't do that. Go get help. Go get the police. Go alert the authorities. Right. But like, this guy doesn't have a lot going on. Things are not going great. And you can understand why this guy is like looking for any sort of release from his reality, because his reality sucks. And this new place, I guess, presents something that might be better. Right. And then we also see this very interesting, weird / creepy turn with Clark, right? You mentioned the most creepy dinner scene in the world where he is like all of a sudden the bad guy. And we've like been cheering for this guy, and now we're like afraid of this guy. And that's a pretty cool turn to do in like one scene to the next. So Clark obviously is the choice for the number 1 pick here. I guess I will go with, I've got 2 picks here, so I'll go with our there's not a lot. I guess I'll just go with Mary. Right, the therapist. She is very interesting because she's very clearly like playing a part when she's doing her therapy sessions with Clark, right? Like, as a therapist, you kind of have a duty to your patient, your client. to help them work through things, and that requires you to be, I guess, inauthentic at times, right? And we see that very clearly with her in their sessions, and then we see that flip when shit starts going down for her, right? We see a completely different person, and so I think that makes a good character in the multiple kind of people that we see in her. For my third choice, man, it's hard. I'm gonna go with Bobby.
Oh, the cameraman.
The cameraman. He is like the boyfriend of the one employee that Clark has. He's really funny in the scene when he's helping shoot the commercial where Clark is wearing the aforementioned like pirate costume for his promotional commercial. He's just really funny in that scene, and that he's funny slash like very compelling in the scenes where they're exploring, doing their research, and he's like filming it all, and he kind of volunteers to go down into the weird tunnel thing, and then he gets dragged off and violently killed. So, R.I.P. to Bobby.
I mean, he definitely had the best laugh in the movie. The one where it's like, did he drug us? And he'd be like, no, I'd know if I was high. He'd be like,
yeah,
well, you are high. And he's like,
weed doesn't count.
Weed doesn't count. Yeah. So two great picks. I'll just shout out. I'm going to give just a shout out here to the girlfriend, Kat, the employee. I thought she was really good of playing that just kind of terrified, girlfriend. And I did love kind of while we're on the scene and he was going down that thing. When he fell down or got pulled down in the bed, yanked them in behind. I thought that was really cool.
That was a sick,
because you imagine, it's tied to something sturdy, but a bed frame is really not that sturdy in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But my final pick will be Phil, who is the ASEC employee, whatever he is. And I just kind of felt for the guy. He just had this look on his face of just exhausted, just so almost like he's given up. He doesn't have any answers. He probably knows just as much as we do. And it feels like he's probably been down there for years. It's just, even though he's in the movie for a very quick time, I felt for the character, and he didn't really give us any answers. I was expecting to have it kind of come in and be like, okay, here we go. But we didn't get that. Instead, we kind of got like a way more sympathetic guy who was really trying to get answers from the guys we'd just been following for an hour and a half, which I thought was strange. Usually that character, when you get to the end of the rainbow, gives you all the gold, gives you all the answers. But instead he was the one asking for them, which I thought was an interesting take. Let's get into the flick here. I want to discuss the found footage scenes because I think that's pretty huge. We grew up, we're in our mid-30s. When Blair Witch Project came out, it was the first found footage film that I could think of, or at least it popularized the genre. Then they kind of overdid it. There's people that had their own takes on it. I really like Chronicle. This movie does it.
I'm a Cloverfield guy myself.
Yeah, great use of it as well.
Yep.
But this movie did it pretty sparingly. Like, it did it at the beginning. It did it for the scene when they're doing the research. That was probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie. So I think they only did it those 2 times. What are your feelings on the found footage genre as a whole? Did you like its implementation here? Hit me with it.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful with it because it can be pretty like jarring and uncomfortable as an audience, right? So you don't want to overdo it. And I think, I mentioned Cloverfield. I think you hated that movie because it like made you literally sick.
I saw it in theaters and I got sick, yeah.
Right. And so, in the opening of this movie, I turned to our buddy Bill, who we went to the movies with. I was like, dude, because I assumed, he's a horror movie guy. I assumed he knew more about the movie coming in. I was like, dude, is the whole movie like gonna be like this? Like, this is a lot, man. This is heavy, right? And so and then so when it wasn't, it was actually a nice, it was a relief to go to like a normal, movie. And then when we had the second found footage, it was also then interesting because it made you feel like you were in it, right? Like you were in the back rooms. And I think another thing this movie does really well, you asked what it does the best. It makes you feel that like existential dread of being lost and being in a maze and going deeper and not helping your cause, right? Like trying to get out, but in the process actually going deeper and getting more lost, like that sense of dread. Uh it makes you really feel. Then I think in the found footage scene, in that research scene, you feel it even more, right? And you feel the creepiness of it because you're in that kind of first person point of view, like you're turning a corner, not knowing what you're going to see, and so that is just extra creepy and unnerving. So the two times we did see it, I thought were just crazy effective.
Me too. And the thing that I really liked about it is even though the movie, is portrayed as a horror movie, they don't do any jump scares when these found footage things really. Like they have like a scene where things are kind of in the background, like it's like, oh, is there something back there? That's kind of spooky. Things kind of slowly peek out. But there was no like, oh, it's quiet and then bang in your face jump scare. Even though there were a ton of opportunities for it during those sections, this is kind of portrayed as a horror movie. Were you scared? Did you get that vibe, or did you just feel that uneasiness that you were talking about?
No, I definitely think it was not it was not scary. Like,
No,
and I don't love horror movies as a whole because I don't like to feel scared, right? I don't like that. I don't like being in my home at night watching a scary movie and then being like, fuck,
uncomfortable.
like this is uncomfortable. Like I don't enjoy that. This movie didn't make me feel that, but what it does make you feel is that dread, right? And that like that type of fear that you kind of have to invent in your mind. Um, in this movie, it really does do that because, like, you know, you just think of a situation where you're in a world where you have entered it and you're not really sure how you got there and you don't know how to get out. And no matter what you do, it's getting worse. And there's also something vaguely scary happening or chasing you or following you or watching you. That is all a very different type of horror, but I think it's a fairly effective horror, but like watching the movie, you're not like scared.
Yeah. So I mentioned it, when I was going through my synopsis that I wanted to have this conversation. Here we are. What are the Backrooms?
Yeah. I don't I don't know. I don't know. I think there's two possibilities, and our buddy that we went and saw the movie with, who we were kind of briefly chatting with on the way out, right? We were all kind of like trying to process our thoughts and feelings on the movie as we were walking out of the theater. And we were all pretty like lukewarm to cold on the movie. Um, and when a few minutes later, our buddy texted us and he basically laid out what I thought was the best version of what the movie was, which was that it was like the dramatization of and the capturing of what a nightmare is. Right? It's this world that you enter sort of on accident or just automatic, whatever, when you sleep. You enter this world, things are happening that don't make sense necessarily, that don't have any rhyme or reason or logic rules constricting what is happening. And if you're in a nightmare, right, you're in a dream that is scary, something bad is happening, something is coming for you, chasing you, whatever is happening, you don't enjoy it, and it eventually ends in a way that maybe doesn't have any closure or any logical conclusion. And I thought that was a compelling argument, right? So I think that is one theory, right? Is that the back rooms are a nightmare or a dream. And I think we can talk a little bit more about the pieces of this movie that support that theory.
See, I think it's more of I think it's a physical place, because the therapist can go into it, right? But
Well,
I
so
think
so
go
so so
ahead.
I think so one thing that disputes that theory of the dream and supports it is an actual place is whose dream is it?
Mhm.
right? Who are from whomst are we seeing this dream, right? Is it Clark's? Is it Mary's? Is it somebody else? Because then we have the watchful eye, right? We see a guy watching the found footage from the first scene, and he's like a guy in a weird room or whatever, right? Like the control room. And then I think we see that same guy later, like watching TV with his family.
Yeah, I think that was Phil, the dude
Was
that
that
depicted the
Phil?
character. I think so.
Was
Because
was it
remember, he
Phil all
saw,
three times?
I think it was Phil all three times. Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't sure. So it's like, so who's Phil, right? And so that's the thing. It's like, is this a dream? If it's a dream, whose point of view is it from? If it's not a dream, is it a real place? It's Phil. Who create? Did Phil create it? Is Phil observing it? Somebody else created it. We don't actually. So I don't know. I don't know what the backrooms
Yeah.
are.
So I think it's a real place. I think maybe not everybody, but I think maybe the people who need them, because I think there are some similarities between these two characters and their past traumas. Maybe the people who need them all have their own back rooms. And depending on how much shit they've gone through or maybe how fucked up they are, their back room might expand and get bigger. I think it's a place where all of your thoughts and your histories are all kind of converging, all your memories. So like some examples, there's some shoes that are kind of halfway melted in the floor when they're going in, when he's first goes in there. Those are the same shoes that his employee and her boyfriend were wearing. We also saw like his shirt in there, but I think he was wearing that shirt on the outside.
We see that shirt, the like end apartheid shirt.
Yeah. So I think he was wearing that on the outside, and then he has a memory of it because he's seen it, and then it shows up in
which
the back
to me
rooms.
supports the dream theory, but
I think it's just a place that is making these copies, because I think also that the creepy dinner scene. I think that redheaded lady was a kind of a memory of his ex-wife, and because it said that the back rooms kind of make copies of these people, and every time they make a copy, the copy gets worse and worse, and that's how we see
Right.
all these.
You
fucked
remember
up
it, but you
people.
don't remember it quite right. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's also kind of that theory that they talk about of somebody who's never seen a dog, and you explain what a dog is, and then ask them to draw a dog. Some parts are going to be right, but some parts are going to be wrong.
Yeah.
And
so like,
yeah,
it's if you were explaining a story. We're 35 and we're trying to go back and explain stories from maybe 20, 25 years ago. Maybe there's parts that we forget and things, or the details that we leave out or make little mistakes in the story. I think it's kind of like that. And it's just this area where, again, both of our characters kind of have some fucked up pasts. And I think this is a place where he can go and really he gets a chance to kind of confront his past and confront a version of himself, kind of the shame version of himself, the kind of version of himself he literally does not want to face, because in his eyes he thinks he is an architect, but because he has that state that in the role play, I am a goddamn architect, but it's like, no, you're not. You run a furniture store, right? So he's got this grotesque, fucked up version of himself that he like doesn't really want to associate with, and I think that that's the version of himself in his head, like this loser, this sad, guy who has to wear a pirate's costume to bring people into his business. And at the end of the movie, they have this intense dinner scene, and she says, the therapist is like, you're right, you don't need to change, just be happy being down here, let me get the fuck out of there. And then he goes up to the guy, to the pirate guy, and he's like, you hear that? We don't need to change. And that's when the pirate bites him and kills him. Clark dies. I think that's because he had like fallen victim to his shitty life, and like he's going to just live here in the backrooms and be a complete piece of shit. While on the other hand, Mary has her trauma from growing up with a psycho mom and has her like her memory rock where she put her hand in the concrete. She literally uses her childhood memory, to smash the bad guy and get away. Like there's something there where Mary uses her trauma to overcome this evil while Clark succumbs to it. Did you get any of that?
Yeah, no, I mean that all's like a reasonable, I guess, interpretation, but like
Make that the movie?
right, or just like so I guess the two like prevailing theories that we at least have, right? Or one is it's like this dream world, it's somebody's dream, or two, it is a real place, but it's influenced
Created
by it's influenced or created by like the subconscious of these people.
by
But
the
like
people who are in there.
right, but like
Because then once Mary
and
goes in,
Phil
go ahead.
talks about so Phil talks about that, it's this place they've been studying, and the more that he like experiences it, the more he is convinced that it's the most important thing in the history of the world or whatever. um but like, so why is the bad guy there just Clark's bad guy, right? Are
I
there
th-
more bad guys? Are there
I think it's because
I
we were
don't
in Clark's back room and Clark was so fucked up.
but
Right? I think
it
once
seems
Clark
like
dies,
there's
go ahead.
one back. Well, there's not one back room. There's millions of rooms or
Yeah.
hundreds, however many. But so, like, what is the depth of the back rooms, right? Or
I
is it
think
one back room?
once
Like, and that's, I think, a failure of the movie into not letting us quite understand what the scope of this place is,
I
right?
think
Are
once
we only seeing a
Mary
piece of it? Is this only? I don't know.
left the house, she like went outside and went down like a street, and there were like the entrances to all these houses. For me, that's when I was like, each one of those entrances is into someone else's back room.
But then doesn't she enter a different house and then it just looks the same as what we've been in?
I remember it getting less yellow. Maybe I
Well,
need to
she,
rewatch.
but if I remember correctly, so she goes out the door into some back room, and then she goes into a different house or whatever, and then the place she ends up in is the furniture store.
It was still pretty yellow and furniture-y.
Well, it
And she
was
was still getting chased by
chased
the
by the guy,
pyro.
and it was the backrooms version of the furniture store, right? She was like looking around, she's like, "Oh my god, am I out?" And then she
Yeah.
tries to go outside, and she tries to open the door, and it's a wall. And then he chases her into like a corner. She bashes him with the rock, and then she goes down that small corridor,
And then
and
before she gets captured,
that's where she gets captured by the
sure.
people right before she gets out of the.
But
And
what I
there's
loved
the
too, go
smoke.
ahead.
So then there's that. The other part is the smoke alarm thing, right? Because right as she's getting captured, there's all the smoke is going off,
They like
and
drugged
then
her.
right, and then that's how she gets captured. So it's like it's almost like it's a simulation of a place where somebody is in charge of this place, and somebody is like that was like a security alarm.
Yeah,
And
well, they
so I don't
also
know.
have like the guys. I think the company in the hazmat suits. I think they set up the cardboard cutouts with the speakers on them because he
Right.
kind of gets as a trap. Like he kind of gets lured in by the sound, and then he's immediately on camera. So they're watching their traps, right? So I think that maybe they set out another speaker, and maybe she kind of got sucked into a trap that they had preset. Maybe
Yeah, but so
I
like
don't know.
who are they? Like why are they doing this? What is the purpose of this place?
I think, to be honest with you, I think we'll get a little bit into the budget spoilers. I think this was made for very cheap. I think this is made about Saw or start about on a Saw budget. I think it's making right now about Saw money. I think they could very easily make 10
Another,
of
yeah,
these.
for sure. And so
So they've got a
that
lot of room.
I think that a lot of backroom. I think that would change my feeling on this movie. Right? Just I don't know how much more you have, but to skip to the end of my kind of thoughts is it just the movie itself. It feels like I won't even say half baked idea because it's more baked than that. It's like an 80% baked movie, I would say, right? Like the concept, the thought, the everything that they set up, I'm like, I was so in. We just went to a movie last week, The Mandalorian, where I slept through, I don't know, 30% of the movie because we went late and it just was boring and the same fucking thing over and over. We went to a late movie for this movie. I was tired like I always am, and I was never even remotely like I was locked in. This movie had me. It was setting up some really cool shit. The setup was incredible. And then, about an hour and 15, hour 20 in, I was like, man, where is this going? Like, how are we going to land the plane here?
How many more times are we going to sneak around a yellow room?
Right. And it did get to a point where I was like, okay, now we're just like, okay. Where are we going with this? What is the movie? What is the purpose? What is the meaning? What is the end here? And then the movie just ends and it's like, oh,
we didn't
okay.
get any answers.
We didn't get resolutions to any of the questions.
Yeah.
And so that, I guess maybe it's intentional. Maybe it is leaving the door open for, like you're mentioning, multiple, sequels. I just didn't love the end.
Yeah.
I think it left more questions than it answered. And I don't particularly love that in movies because I would like to have some sort of conclusion, resolution. I don't know, man.
I think it was your quote last night. It was very, very good, where you're like, it's like if you were to tell someone about a movie and then them try to make one, similar to the dog quote from the movie itself. And it's very true. Even though there's a million things that the movie does right, the story is not one of them. I've had more fun thinking about the movie and what could possibly have been, and wanting to have this conversation that we're having right now. That's been more fun than the 2 hours that we were in the theater together.
Well, like for example, one thing I was thinking of was like when Clark is hosting the creepy dinner. That's a scary movie.
That's a scary movie.
That's a creepy motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like if all of a sudden he is like
he's like slowly stabbing the knife into
if all of a sudden he is the architect of this woman's like hell, that's fucking creepy and scary. And I don't.
Or even if it is his hell and she's stuck in it, and it's not some slow meandering sad. That's one thing I wanted to mention. When she was kind of in the thing, she turned around and she was looking at the thing that she just bashed in the head, and he couldn't get her. She looked so sympathetic towards it. The fear washed away from her face, and she looked sad. And I think that she understood what was chasing her was just this sad, pathetic, no one loved it, this bad, sad version of our main character.
Yeah. And so let's just, neither of us drafted in the top 4 that fucking
the pirate
cartoonish weird pirate giant thing.
Yeah.
What was that? That thing was terrible. That thing was terrible. If that's the scary, element that's chasing us, or like, dude, come on, do better.
I agree.
There was, even just the unknown thing that, because like when Bobby goes down and he's tied to the rope and he gets like taken away and sucked up like some little weird wall thing or whatever, like just the idea of like what could have done that is way scarier than this pirate giant cartoon thing.
Yeah,
that was like the least effective scary villain thing. That was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I could see, I think that this movie is trying to have a lot of hidden themes and hidden meanings. I think the reason that it's a pirate is because a pirate lives this ultimate free life. And I think that's what Clark is wants to live, but he's just tied down by all his failure. So I think
my interpretation of it was because everything we see in the Backrooms is something that is being drawn from the real world, right?
Yeah, so it's like commercial.
it's a reimagining and like a misunderstanding or a misremembering of a real thing, which they do get in, and it's like, God, that was such a fucking great concept, right? That like all these things we're seeing down here is something that we are remembering from real life just a little bit wrong, and every time we
And that's why I
remember it
like the
again, it's
wife being the girl down below with the red hair. I think that
right, with the multiple
could be great.
faces and the
Yep.
dude with the 4 or the 8 eyes, and then like rooms that don't make any architectural sense, because like that is what a dream, like you, God, oh, it was so close. It was so close to like something.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
just
And maybe we're not understanding it properly.
And I mean, there is so much lore out there where we could get these questions answered for us if we wanted to spend the time. People have
Yeah.
spent years going through all
I'm
this stuff,
sure we can find,
but
I'm sure this dude has done interviews. I don't know, but like, you know, I'm sure if he was the third box in this fucking stream right now, he would just be shitting in our faces and just like proving how dumb we are and how little we understand the movie, because all of these things that he had in his mind that what he was trying to do. And like, I would love to know those things, but like, let's explore those things more in this movie. The one thing I was thinking about this movie that I was frustrated about, it's an hour and 50 minutes, which I think is basically the perfect length for a movie. But this movie both needed to be longer and shorter at the same time.
needed either one or the other.
Right. Yeah. It's like it needed more. It needed to do more. It needed to fully flesh out the ideas of the things we were doing. Or if it's not going to flesh these things out and it's just going to leave us on basically a gigantic cliffhanger or like a basic, you know, a gigantic question mark, like let's cut down some of the wandering around the rooms. We get it.
Yep.
We get the room thing. Like, I don't know. It both needed to be longer and shorter. And that's a bizarre, like, I don't know, man. This movie did so many things that I don't think I've ever experienced in a movie before, which is a testament to it, but also just kind of supports the idea that this was not a fully baked movie.
I did really like the 2 role play scenes between the therapist, the one we get at the beginning, where he's kind of reluctant to do it, and then at the end, he's the one kind of forcing it when he's all in evil mode.
And they're like identical.
Yeah, those were very good.
Again, when he's the evil guy, I'm like, this is the movie. Make him be like the evil, scary, the bad guy. Yeah. But then it's like, then he just gets eaten by this weird fucking pirate monster thing, cartoon thing. Yeah. I was like, what? It's like, no, this was cool when he was the architect of the horror that was happening, right? He went from like the guy he went from our protagonist, our hero, our whatever, to being the bad guy. Like, that's a sick flip. Why are we killing him 90 seconds into his like his evil arc? I don't know.
And so we mentioned, our Mary gets chased. She gets smoked, hazmated, passed out. She has her conversation with Phil, where we expect Phil to give us answers. He doesn't. He just asks more questions. And then again, it ends with a shot of the back rooms, and we get the creepy version of Mary. Did Mary escape? Is Mary out in the real world?
So I don't think so. And again, the 2 theories, right? Because, and this is another scene that I think disproves the dream nightmare theory, because that final scene makes me think that she is just another victim of the Backrooms, right? A bunch of people have found their way into the Backrooms, however they've done it, and they get lost in it and they get turned into this like misremembered version of themselves, right? We've got the guy in the wheelchair thing, the weird lamp guy. We've got the 8 eyeball guy. We've got the lady with the red hair and the multiple faces. And then now Mary is just one of those, right? She can't leave. You're not allowed to leave. You're now part of this world, but you're wrong. Which I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me. I don't get
So
it.
my take when watching the movie is because they do show the sky, right? The like the white. We see clouds in blue. They make sure to show windows, but it felt like the way it looked is those things that you see at like the doctor's office where they put
Mm-hmm.
a vinyl over a window.
Mm-hmm.
That and there's a light behind it. That's the vibe that I got from that shot. And in my mind, I imagined that the interview that was taking place happened in the back rooms. So I did not think that she got out. So that was my interpretation. But some people are saying online she did get out. But in my theory of what's going on is we kind of add to the back rooms. They have our memories, but when a person goes into the back rooms has their memories of those people. So you can leave the back rooms, but you can't ever really leave. It's going to remember you. You've now been a part of it and become it, and it's going to continue to make these copies of her and make her more and more fucked up as time goes on, just because of the time that she's spent in there.
I see that, I guess, but I hate that version.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I hate that interpretation. I don't like that.
Yeah. This did take place in the 90s. I love the 90s vibe. The only other thing that I want to have the discussion about is kind of just obsessions and backrooms and just this YouTube director era, what your thoughts are on it, and if you would hope to continue to see more of these type of projects.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about these people or the origins of these stories or the YouTube world. Like, unfortunately, I'm just a little too old for that. Got too many kids. I got too much shit going on to be like in that world. I was listening to, I'm a big Bill Simmons fan. I listened to his podcast. He had Joanna Robinson and Chris Ryan on the other day, and they were having some discussions about Euphoria, and then they were kind of they kind of morphed into this discussion of like, if you were a young, because I think they mentioned these movies, if you were a young creator of content, right, a young like director like these guys, would you want them to be making movies or TV shows? And I think they were, both, I think Joanna and Chris CR kind of took the cop out answer of like, well, it depends on what their answers. And it's like, yeah, come on, guys, like let's commit to an answer. And for me, the answer is very clearly movies. I want really cool movies to be made. I love TV shows. I love movies. I love to have TV shows that I can watch on a weekly basis because that's a cool thing. I love when TV shows are like part of the monoculture and it's like a thing that everybody's watching week to week. But I would rather have just really fucking cool movies. And I think when these young creators are making really cool movies and then like kind of minting themselves in a way, right, to where like they can call the shots, they can pick the projects, they can get the funding from multiple studios if they come forward with their ideas, whatever. Like, I think that kicks ass. I think that very clearly we are seeing, I don't know if very clearly is the right words, but like we have some evidence that movies are coming back. And I think it started with Top Gun Maverick. And then I think last year it was really spearheaded by Sinners and Weapons. I think those were two movies that people were like very excited to see in theaters, and people talked about it and told each other about it, and people went, the word of mouth like created a buzz. And then I think right now Obsession and this movie are like fucking home run of the word of mouth, like grassroots, getting people in theaters. Dude, our theater was packed last night, and it wasn't even it wasn't opening weekend.
Yeah.
And we were there last weekend, and the theater was packed of people seeing this movie. And I think that you had went to Obsession the week before, and I assumed it was pretty packed because I've heard a lot of people talking about Obsession. So like, it's very cool. Very long-winded answer to your question. But I think it's awesome that young people are making movies that are insanely popular and cool off of very low budgets. And I think that it's opening doors to specifically these people being able to do, on their next movie, whatever the fuck they want. But we're seeing that with other people, man. Kreger is going to be able to make any movie he wants. These kids are going to be able to make whatever they want. Like there's some young directors. It's ironic that they're all in the horror genre, but like we have some hope, man. Movies have hope. Theaters have hope.
Yeah, I agree. It's been great to see people in the theaters. Been speaking with coworkers, and they've all been, because they know I'm, the movie guy. They've all been saying, "Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this?" It's like, yeah, I've been in the movies 3 times. And I'm like, dude, me too. And it's just really good to hear people getting back in the theaters. I think Hollywood has needed fresh ideas for a long time, and to have these, they threw 2 gambles. Here's a couple 10. We always talk about the $10 million price point, which I think is what we're going to get into here shortly. But that being the sweet spot to take a gamble. And they did it. Well, we found out, Obsession was $750,000. They took a really small gamble there, but that's where you can find your payoff. They now have a Backrooms. They've got Backroom fans for life because of what they've made on this one movie. They can now make, like I said, 10 movies, video games, comics. They can sell, they're going to sell this shit out of Backrooms. And I'm excited to, watch this property get ruined, but so we can get other people to take their shot and their swing. And we need young, fresh voices and not Marvel for the 20th time or, The Exorcist for the 12th time.
Yeah, I mean,
I love to see it.
I think the good thing is that like the Marvel and just all the IP recycling, I think it got to a point where no matter who you are, you got sick of it.
Yeah.
They really, really overdid it and drove it into the ground. And then I think the 4 movies of the last 16 months or however many it's been, like Weapons, dude, Weapons rules. That movie was so fucking cool. Yep. And I think that I don't know if I think that everybody who's seen it kind of mostly agrees. I don't know that everybody saw it, but like Weapons rules, Sinners rules. And then this movie and Obsession. I haven't seen Obsession, and I'm not even gonna say this movie rules, but like it's doing something. It's doing something different. It's making you feel and think and like talk about it, and like that's important. Mm-hmm. And so I think
though this movie wasn't for me,
yeah,
it's for people, and people are resonating with it, and it's an original movie, and I love that.
Yeah, so I think this movie, Obsession, Weapons, and Sinners are my kind of like 4 movies. And I've seen some other really good movies. I watched every Oscar movie last year, and I loved a lot of movies, some of the movies from the year before as well. Like there's been some really good movies, but as far as like commercially popular and successful, must see it in theaters type movies, like we've seen 4 from the last 2 years that are like, this is kind of the gold standard, and maybe there's some hope.
Yeah. And I think that, the fact that this is directed by a 20-year-old, this is going to bring young kids into the theater too. I mean, they're a lot more on the YouTube stuff, so they're more familiar with this. There were a lot of young people in the theater last night.
YouTube numbers are wild.
They're crazy.
Dude, they're like some of like the most popular YouTube channels, like the number of subscriptions and the views that are on these videos and things like that, like it's mind-boggling, the number. Our podcast obviously is working up those rankings and
incredibly fast.
Yeah, but
skyrocketing up.
We don't even quite understand like the scope of some of these fucking YouTube videos. It's crazy.
Insane. Apparently, all you have to do is make a good thumbnail, and then that's all you have to do.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk money because I am very curious. I've heard rumblings. We've discussed it a little bit. I think this movie's pulling in big bucks, but in order to know the facts, we got to throw it to our money man, Lucas Walker. Please make the dollars make sense.
So we have mentioned it a couple times. We had an estimated budget for this movie of about $10 million. I think it was. So there were some estimates that were even a little bit lower than the 10 million, but we'll work with 10 million. Anybody who listens to our podcast on the regular, the many dozens of you out there, the tens of you out there, you will know that 10 million is very much on the low side. We are pretty used to seeing movies in the $100 million range, right? So this is a tiny little budget. Opening weekend in the United States and Canada, 81 and a half. We'll round up $81.5 million. So this did 8.5x its budget in the opening weekend, and that was May 31st. So we're only on weekend number 2 right now. So the gross worldwide box office is $154 million.
Yes.
This movie has done 15.5x its budget in like 10 days. That number is going to keep climbing because I think this is going to be one of the rare movies. You had texted me about it, of where, like, I think Obsession was what you said. It did like record numbers in its third weekend or something like that.
Yeah, the amount of it increased every weekend from its first, second to third weekend. The money it brought in increased each of those weekends. It's the first movie to do that since E.T. in '83 or whatever.
Right, and so this movie seems like it's on a similar trajectory. I don't know if it will do better numbers in third weekend than second, but like either way, people are going to keep seeing this movie. It's going to keep raking in crazy money. Like, I don't know, is $500 million like in the box office out of the question for this movie? I don't think so.
Because you're probably not reporting this weekend at all. You know what
Right.
I mean?
We're not capturing this full weekend for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like this is an unanswered question still. But I mean, it's like an A plus
infinity.
Yeah, like
the Backrooms of A pluses.
It's the best grade. Exactly. Like the number of pluses are equal to the number of rooms in the Backrooms. Like this is, this movie could end up being like on the Mount Rushmore of successful movies.
Yeah, absolutely. We love to see it. But we need to discuss beer because I'm getting towards the end.
We sure do.
Let's get thirsty.
Let's take it over to our local beer enthusiast. We'll cozy up to the bar with our man, Lane Good.
Howdy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Beer Corner. This week we are drinking, again, La Chouffe. I'm going to hope I said that right.
I think that's worse than the first time, but
one thing that's pretty interesting, if you are drinking along with us, you'll see on the website here that it's blonde, Blonde. But if you are drinking at home, you'll see that there is no E on our bottles. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but it is Blond, no E, which I find that interesting. Sip and savor and feel the freshness as the Chauffe's brewery's first creation, La Chouffe, gets off the mark with its signature citrusy notes and triumphs with a pleasantly spicy finish. 40 fantastic years since its launch, La Chouffe is the go-to beer for shared moments after a brisk walk, around a campfire, or in town with friends. Coming in at 8% ABV. I did see a little bit information here on the back. Gold, slightly cloudy. It stands out with a rich white foam head, which I did notice as well as I was drinking it. Looking beautiful. Balanced and refreshing taste, subtle spicy notes, hints of citrus. The tasting experience finishes with a pleasantly spiced, peppery aftertaste. And then it says, cheers, Marcel. This brewery is out of, I wrote it here on this little fancy note card that I have, a Chouffe, a village tucked away in the Belgian Ardennes. Here's their founder, Chris. Man, I'm just between the actors and the brewery, I'm just fucking up all these names.
This is a tough one, man.
Backrooms. His first batch was back in 1982. They're again back here in the late 70s. They started tucked away in, again, the Belgian Ardennes, two brothers, beer lovers. They decided to create their own brewery in their mother-in-law's garage, which if you're brewing beer in your mother-in-law's garage, you got a pretty sweet mother-in-law there. Again, their first batch, 1982. The first beer, the one we're drinking, La Chouffe. Again, they start to grow. They get their recipe. They get it all dialed in. They get their farm. Loving it, growing ever since then. They've got a few different beers that they do now, but obviously this is the one that started it all. We see things, we see this all the time where they just expand like crazy. They go from 22 to 70 hectoliters, and then annual production goes from 3,400 to 5,000 hectoliters, which is probably why we are drinking it here in the States. So that is, let's do it one more time, La Chouffe. And we've got the little gnome here. Do you want to try and guess why I chose this beer for the pod?
Well, I think that's a pretty tough task for me, considering you picked this beer for a different movie. And that movie was, spoiler alert for our fans, the other movie we're going to be reviewing here soon is Close Encounters with the Third Kind. I don't know, maybe it looks like the little boy, the creepy little boy.
I just thought, the yellow worked well with the movie.
The yellow does work well with this movie.
So and the gnome is something that you might see down in the back rooms.
If there was a gnome, if there was like a half a gnome, or like slightly askew and sunken into the floor.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's one other thing we didn't quite get into on the movie, but like there was one scene where we're like going down like a level, and it got
progressively worse and shitty. So it's like less,
right.
It's like more...
every time you remember it, it gets worse.
Sure. I don't know. Yeah, you're right there for sure. I don't know.
God damn it. This movie is fucking so close, dude. It's so close, dude.
I know. Let's discuss our beers and our review of said beers. I'll go first. Okay. I thought this was really, 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 really good. A blonde coming in at, again, 8% is really unheard of for me, especially in the United States. You're usually seeing blondes a lot lower than that, maybe going up to low 6.4, somewhere in there. So to see a blonde come in at an 8, I think is pretty crazy. Maybe that has to do with the lack of E. That's how they get away with it. But it's really good for a light beer. I think it's got a lot of flavor, but also a lot of kick. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9. I thought this was an amazing light beer. Maybe I'm just in the right mood. It's kind of a windy, summery eve, and I just think this beer was awesome. I loved it. 9.
Yeah, it's my first sip. I almost like, I was taken aback a bit. It wasn't what I was expecting. A weedy blonde is not necessarily my jam either. But this one is quite good. It's going down pretty smooth, especially for an 8%. I'll go with an 8 out of 10. Yeah, this is really good, especially for like you described, a windy but warm summery eve. Oh,
I mean, I've had IPAs that are not as strong that taste worse than this.
100%.
So I can't be mad about that.
Yep.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to play America's favorite game, Rotten Guesses.
Oh boy.
I know this one's going to be tough. Lucas, this is America's favorite game where we try and guess closest to the Rotten Tomato ranking, both the critics and the audience score. So you're going to get 2 chances to get as close as possible. Whoever's closest is the winner for the week, and they have bragging rights. And then at the end of the year, we see who's the best.
Yep.
I want to hear what you think about the critics and audience review scores.
All right. This is tough. This is tough. I think it's easy to be persuaded, potentially even misled by the commercial success and popularity, the ground, swell, the grassroots support of this movie, how many people have going, obviously that would indicate that this movie's good, right? People tell people about movies they liked. Not like, hey, this movie sucked, you should go see it, right? So that would be a strange development. So I think we do, all that is to say that I think we do have a pretty high floor. However, on the critic side, we don't really know what that is. So this is tough. I will start with the critic score. I'll go. I think it's gonna be pretty high. I can't imagine the critics didn't love this, or at least like have a lot of respect for it. I'm gonna go with an 86 critic.
Okay.
I think the audience could only be higher. I'm gonna go 92 audience.
Ooh, you are dancing in the 90s, huh?
86, 92.
I like your critic. I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 88. I think they're going to enjoy the fresh new take and all the things that we discussed, all the things that the movie did well. I think that we needed critics like this new fresh take. I think the audience is going to be lower than the critics. I think like us, I think some people are going to be disappointed with the lack of answers and then they failed the runway. They had the biggest runway in the world to hit. They had it so set up beautifully, and they did not hit it, at least in my eyes. And I think some people are going to be upset by that. I'm going to go 82 for the audience is my guess. So 88 critic, 82 audience.
Interesting. We have seen, we've chronicled it. We've seen some really high scores on both sides, especially from the popcorn meter, the people's reviews on some movies lately, and we've been kind of dumbfounded by some of the scores. So you're going to get the sweep here. You're going to get the sweep this week.
Nice.
You were all over it, and you've got it right on the which side's higher and lower. The critics, with only 239 reviews, so not a ton, but enough to certify this, come in at an 89.
Ooh.
So you were damn close. I was close-ish, but not as close. Pretty solid from both of us there. So an 89. The popcorn meter, the people, 5,000 plus verified reviews, significantly lower.
Really?
74.
Ooh, I thought about dipping into the 70s, but that didn't seem right. Didn't feel right.
It just, to me, I guess I was just too influenced by the, word of mouth and the amount of people who are going to see this and how excited people are about it. It's kind of a strange number to me.
That is a little strange.
You've got the numbers in front. It's so let's see. I mean, it's like, let's see. What
are you looking for?
You got, okay, there you go. I mean, like Mandalorian and Grogu, 88 from the audience.
What are we doing? What are we talking about?
Remarkably Beautiful Creatures, a 90. Send Help, an 86. So, I mean, all
Wuthering Heights, the 76. Armageddon, the 73.
Yeah, I mean, but even just like looking at the last three, Send Help, Remarkably Beautiful Creatures, which Remarkably Beautiful Creatures was
bright,
a lovely movie. Remarkably Bright Creatures.
I
Yeah,
fucked it up. I love that movie. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah. No, it was a lovely movie. But like Mandalorian Grogu, 88 compared to this movie,
what are we doing?
as much as I think this movie didn't quite land the plane, this is a better movie
Agreed.
by a lot. Like it's not even really that close. I don't know, man. These Rotten Tomato scores are baffling me of late.
They always have and they always will. But people don't come to listen to our Rotten Tomatoes takes. They come to listen to our takes, Luke. I've been so curious. And honestly, even right now, I don't know where I'm going to rank this. So I'm kind of curious where you're at.
Me too, bud. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what I thought about this movie. My wife asked me this morning, and when she asked me, so, how was the movie? I gave a big sigh, and she was like, wow, 2 terrible movies in a row. And I was like, well, no,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I liked it, but I don't know how much I liked it. And I think there was some really brilliant stuff going on. We were cooking. We were cooking, and like my wife, maybe we left it in the oven too long. Maybe it wasn't in the oven long enough. You know, that's a little inside baseball. My wife burnt the pizza tonight. She left it in the oven too long. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I liked the movie while we were watching. There was never a point in the movie where I was thinking I don't like what's happening. I was always liking what was happening. And then it ended and I was like, well, now
I
don't know.
don't.
I don't like this because we haven't concluded the movie. We haven't answered any of the questions. We haven't put a bow on this, right? Like, and not every movie has to have a clean, you know, a bow wrapped around it, but
we're two guys who watch a lot of movies and we just spend an hour talking about it and we don't know.
Right. And it's like, dude, I appreciate everything this movie did, but it didn't land the plane. And that, you know, finishing a movie is the big part of it. It's a big part of the equation. I am going to rate this movie a 74 out of 100.
7.4. I like it. Yeah. Well, I haven't said this yet, but I'll say it now in my review. That movie ended when we were, sitting together last night, and the first words out of my mouth after the movie was, "Well, that movie fucking sucked." And
you did say that.
I think that's the last time that I felt that.
Right.
Was after I left the theater. Like I said, I've had more fun since, but when you're watching it, you're exploring a lot of rooms very slowly and very creepily. You're not getting any questions answered. The acting is phenomenal. The characters are deep. The rooms are creepy. That's not like a bunch of gross special effects. Everything looked good. But I didn't like it. But I didn't have fun watching it. I didn't.
It's not a lot of fun to watch.
No, but I want to watch it again. So I can,
I don't.
See, part of me, I think I do. And okay, how about this? If they release a sequel, would you want to go see that?
Yes.
I can get behind that. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So there's something there. And so I don't want to shit all over this movie. But I didn't enjoy it. I have 6 as an okay. If anything under a 6 is bad, I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's good. So I think I'm dancing in the 6s. So I'm going to go ahead and throw out like a 6. Let's see. What did I give a 6 for? I gave Send Help a 6.4. I'll go a 6. Oh God, I don't know.
This movie's better than Send Help.
You think so?
I think so.
I'll go a 6.5 then. I think.
What did I give Stenhope?
Let's see. You gave Stenhelp a 7.
Yeah, I think
You
this
gave this
movie's
a
better.
7.4.
Yeah, I think this movie's better. Not by a ton.
Not by a ton. I think that there are things that this movie does good or great, does better than anything Stenhelp does good or great. So I can get behind that. And I
I
don't
think
think we
this
should.
movie conceptually, like, had 10 potential.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yes. Maybe that is maybe why I'm going lower, is because I had so much hype and so much interest. And even while we were watching it, the fact that
Some ideas that it was exploring were elite.
were very good. The fact that the scariest part of the movie is there's like the Christmas tree and it has red lights. So like we're in a room that's red, and that's really the only difference. And it felt like people in the audience were like, whoa, whoa. And it's like, that's weird that they can elicit that response. So like the movie does things amazing, but I personally need answers. I need a conclusion. I need to know where our characters are. You know, the guy got bit one time. I'm sure he's dead, but did he get away? Let's see it. Did our main Mary, did she get away? I don't think so, but I don't know. And I don't want to have to watch a 4-hour YouTube video to make it feel like I didn't
That's the
hate
thing.
my time.
Right. We are in this world in 2026 where it's like you can get away with like not answering the questions within the movie because there's this subculture of,
and you know it.
Right. Like you can go on YouTube, you can go on Reddit, you can do like, no, give me the full picture within the 2 hours of the movie that I'm watching.
Yep.
I want all the answers in that 2 hours. I don't want to have to like, yes, okay. Inception. Was the top spinning? Was it about
That's
to fall?
one question.
It's one question, like that we can debate. Like, but we have all the answers. We can debate this one thing. Shutter Island. Can we like? We have it all
Did he
here.
know or not? Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's different than like.
What are the Backrooms?
A real place? Was this a dream? Was any of this real? What, like,
who's Phil? Where are they? How long have they been there?
We didn't have any answers.
No,
and that's not okay. I don't appreciate that.
I'm with you. Well, fun movie season. We're getting into it. We have Disturbance Day. We got the new Spielberg coming out. We got a new Nolan coming out. We got Dune 3 coming out this year. We're absolutely ripping it. We're in the prime of 2026 for movies, and I'm very excited to continue this journey with you guys. So thank you, everyone, so much for listening to episode 131 of A Beer and Review. Lucas, cheers.
Cheers.